Beauty used to feel different, softer, less manufactured, more human. Long before every face was polished into the same look, television gave us stars with presence, mystery, and real charm. Some radiated strength, some carried sweetness. Some simply owned the screen without trying too hard. Today we are looking back at those unforgettable faces and the grace they brought with them. Before we begin, we would love to hear from you. Tell us where you are watching from today and what time it is where you are. Those little details always make this journey feel even more personal. Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton became iconic through Beetlejuice and Batman, where his sharp intensity, sly humor, and restless energy made him one of the most magnetic stars of his generation. Now 74, he still commands attention through major film roles and enduring pop culture relevance. He remains admired for versatility, reinvention, and the rare ability to keep surprising audiences. Maureen McCormick. Maureen McCormick became beloved as Marcia Brady on The Brady Bunch, where her sunny smile, polished beauty, and easy sweetness made her a defining television favorite. Now 69, she remains warmly linked to that cherished role and still brings a bright nostalgia to every appearance. She is still beloved for the comfort, charm, and familiarity she gave classic family television. Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall became famous as Samantha Jones, where her glamorous confidence, quick wit, and fearless sensuality made her one of television's most unforgettable modern icons. Now 69, she continues to work on her own terms, choosing projects with care and independence. She remains admired for bold charisma, strong individuality, and a screen presence that never needed anyone's permission. Karen Grassel. Karen Grassel became beloved as Caroline Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie, where her gentle beauty, quiet strength, and maternal warmth made her one of television's most comforting presences. Now 84, she is still fondly remembered for that graceful role and the calm dignity she carried into it. She remains admired for kindness, steadiness, and timeless emotional warmth. Lou Ferrigno. Lou Ferrigno became unforgettable as the Incredible Hulk, where his towering physique, powerful presence, and surprising gentleness made him one of television's most striking action figures. Now 74, he remains active, physically disciplined, and deeply connected to longtime fans through appearances and public life. He is still beloved for strength, perseverance, and the human heart beneath an outsized legend. Valerie Bertinelli. Valerie Bertinelli became famous as Barbara Cooper on One Day at a Time, where her bright warmth, approachable charm, and natural relatability made her a beloved young television star. Now 65, she has embraced a candid new chapter through food, writing, and reflection. She remains admired for honesty, resilience, and a warmth that still feels wonderfully familiar. Kirstie Alley. Kirstie Alley became a television phenomenon as Rebecca Howe on Cheers, where her glamorous confidence, comic spark, and emotional vulnerability made her impossible to ignore. She died in 2022 at 71, leaving behind a career filled with major laughs and unmistakable attitude. Her legacy still shines through fearless humor, star power, and unforgettable sitcom energy. Morgan Fairchild. Morgan Fairchild became famous through glamorous television roles where her flawless blonde polish, luxurious poise, and elegant confidence made her one of the screen's most recognizable beauties. Now 76, she remains active through interviews, advocacy, and public appearances. She remains admired for classic glamour, durability, and the confidence of a star always in command. David Soul. David Soul became iconic as Detective Ken Hutchinson on Starsky and Hutch, where his blonde good looks, cool ease, and natural charisma made him one of television's memorable crime drama stars. He died in 2024 at 80, after a life also shaped by music and stage work. He is still beloved for timeless charm and enduring 70s cool. Catherine Bach. Catherine Bach became iconic as Daisy Duke on The Dukes of Hazzard, where her radiant beauty, self-assured charm, and breezy appeal made her a true television sensation. Now 72, she remains strongly tied to that instantly recognizable image and still carries herself with easy glamour. She continues to inspire affection through confidence, charisma, and a lasting pop culture impression. Natasha Richardson. Natasha Richardson became acclaimed through The Parent Trap and her luminous stage work, where her refined elegance, gentle warmth, and emotional grace made her one of the most cherished actresses of her generation. She died in 2009 at 45, far too soon. Her legacy still shines through kindness, talent, and a presence that always felt effortlessly radiant. Linda Goodfriend. Linda Goodfriend became beloved as Lori Beth Cunningham on Happy Days, where her soft sincerity, intelligent charm, and gentle presence gave the series an extra layer of sweetness. Now 72, she is also respected for her later work teaching and mentoring young performers. She remains admired for warmth, steadiness, and a career shaped by quiet dedication. Telly Savalas. Telly Savalas became iconic as Kojak, where his bald-headed cool, deep commanding voice and unshakable toughness made him one of television's most recognizable crime stars. He died in 1994 at 72, but his screen image still feels bold and unmistakable. He remains admired for authority, style, and a persona that never needed embellishment. Beth Maitland. Beth Maitland became famous as Tracy Abbott on The Young and the Restless, where her calm sincerity, heartfelt warmth, and gentle intelligence made her a trusted daytime presence for decades. Now 67, she continues to be closely associated with that enduring role. She remains beloved for emotional honesty, consistency, and the grace she brings to quiet moments. Bea Arthur. Bea Arthur became iconic on Maude and later The Golden Girls, where her commanding voice, razor-sharp timing, and fearless confidence made her one of television's most unforgettable women. She died in 2009 at 86, leaving a legacy far larger than comedy alone. She continues to inspire through wit, strength, and compassion that still resonates deeply. Ann Gillian. Ann Gillian became widely loved on It's a Living, where her bright charisma, classic glamour, and lively sparkle made her a standout television favorite. Now 76, she is also remembered for her public courage after surviving breast cancer and speaking openly about that journey. She remains admired for resilience, warmth, and a spirit that never lost its shine. Bill Bixby. Bill Bixby became unforgettable as Dr. David Banner on The Incredible Hulk, where his thoughtful intensity, gentle presence, and emotional restraint gave the series its human soul. He died in 1993 at 59, far earlier than many expected. He remains beloved for dignity, sensitivity, and the quiet sadness he brought to a role viewers still remember. Alana Stewart. Alana Stewart became known through television, lifestyle media, and celebrity culture, where her glamorous poise, polished beauty, and easy public confidence made her a familiar face for years. Now 80, she remains visible more as a personality than a regular actress. She is still admired for enduring glamour, media savvy, and a presence that stayed effortlessly recognizable. Valerie Harper. Valerie Harper became famous as Rhoda Morgenstern on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and Rhoda, where her sharp wit, stylish independence, and relatable warmth made her one of television's most beloved women. She died in 2019 at 80 after facing illness with remarkable openness. Her legacy still shines through courage, humor, and emotional honesty. Tracy Bregman. Tracy Bregman became famous as Lauren Fenmore on The Young and the Restless, where her glossy glamour, fierce confidence, and polished star power made her a standout in daytime television. Now 62, she remains active and deeply tied to that enduring role. She remains admired for longevity, consistency, and the magnetic confidence she brings on screen. Jack Lord. Jack Lord became iconic as Steve McGarrett on Hawaii Five-O, where his silver-haired authority, sharp gaze, and commanding cool made him one of television's most memorable crime heroes. He died in 1998 at 77 after living a notably private later life. He remains admired for dignity, discipline, and the timeless force he brought to the small screen. Jane Keane. Jane Keane became beloved as Trixie Norton on The Honeymooners, where her warm familiarity, comic charm, and lively spirit made her a treasured part of classic television comedy. She died in 2013 at 90, leaving behind a career filled with recognizable appearances. She is still beloved for comfort, humor, and a charm that never went out of fashion. Rue McClanahan. Rue McClanahan became famous as Blanche Devereaux on The Golden Girls, where her sultry glamour, sparkling wit, and playful confidence made her one of television's most unforgettable comic stars. She died in 2010 at 76, but her performances still feel vibrant and deliciously alive. Her legacy still shines through elegance, humor, and a personality that could light up any scene. Linda Lusardi. Linda Lusardi became well known through British television and entertainment, where her approachable glamour, glossy confidence, and easy warmth made her a familiar public figure for years. Now 67, she appears more selectively while maintaining that same polished presence in the public eye. She remains admired for lasting charm, recognizability, and a career shaped by enduring media appeal. Wayne Rogers. Wayne Rogers became beloved as Trapper John on MASH, where his easy confidence, handsome charm, and grounded wit made him one of television's most likable stars. He died in 2015 at 82, after building an impressive second life in business and finance. He remains admired for intelligence, warmth, and a legacy that stretched well beyond acting. Beverly D'Angelo. Beverly D'Angelo became famous as Ellen Griswold in the Vacation films, where her earthy glamour, comic ease, and strong natural confidence made her an enduring screen favorite. Now 74, she is still admired for a career that balanced comedy, drama, and candid reflections on family life. She remains beloved for range, resilience, and a warmth that never feels forced. Jean Stapleton. Jean Stapleton became iconic as Edith Bunker on All in the Family, where her gentle voice, comic brilliance, and deeply human warmth made her one of television's most cherished performers. She died in 2013 at 90, yet that tender presence still feels close to viewers. She remains admired for kindness, truthfulness, and the emotional heart she brought to comedy. Sharon Lawrence. Sharon Lawrence became acclaimed as Sylvia Costas on NYPD Blue, where her sharp intelligence, grounded emotion, and commanding presence gave real weight to every scene. Now 64, she continues to work steadily in film and television with the same polished authority. She remains admired for credibility, strength, and the quiet power of consistently excellent work. Richard Hatch. Richard Hatch became iconic as Captain Apollo on Battlestar Galactica, where his earnest heroism, adventurous energy, and sincere charm made him a true science fiction favorite. He died in 2017 at 71, but his bond with fans remained strong to the very end. He is still beloved for commitment, warmth, and a legacy that lives on in genre television. Erin Gray. Erin Gray became beloved as Colonel Wilma Deering on Buck Rogers in the 25th century, where her elegant beauty, poised strength, and futuristic charisma made her one of classic television's standout science fiction women. Now 76, she still enjoys a warm connection with fans through appearances and conventions. She remains admired for grace, confidence, and enduring cult television appeal. Estelle Getty. Estelle Getty became unforgettable as Sophia Petrillo on The Golden Girls, where her tiny frame, fearless comic timing, and razor-sharp delivery made her one of television's great scene stealers. She died in 2008 at 84, but her humor still feels gloriously alive. She remains beloved for laughter, warmth, and a spirit that never lost its bite. Darlene Conley. Darlene Conley became iconic as Sally Spectra on The Bold and the Beautiful, where her larger-than-life glamour, bold wit, and high-voltage presence made her a true daytime legend. She died in 2007 at 72, yet the character still shines in soap history. She remains admired for flair, confidence, and unforgettable television energy. Avery Brooks. Avery Brooks became iconic as Captain Benjamin Sisko on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where his commanding presence, resonant voice, and intellectual intensity made him one of science fiction television's most respected figures. Now 77, he keeps a lower public profile while remaining deeply admired by longtime fans. He remains beloved for authority, depth, and lasting cultural importance. Pamela Bach. Pamela Bach became known through Baywatch and other television work, where her bright glamour, polished confidence, and sunlit appeal made her part of a memorable era of screen beauty. She died in 2025 at 62, leaving behind a recognizable image tied to that glossy television wave. She remains remembered for charm, visibility, and a familiar pop culture presence. Harry Hamlin. Harry Hamlin became famous through LA Law, where his classic leading man looks, polished confidence, and easy sophistication made him one of television's most recognizable dramatic stars. Now 74, he remains visible through selective acting and a public life shaped by family and reinvention. He remains admired for longevity, charisma, and the calm assurance he brings on screen. Katherine Hellman. Katherine Hellman became beloved on Soap and Who's the Boss, where her elegant timing, sharp wit, and warm comic sparkle made her one of television's most comforting presences. She died in 2019 at 89 after a career filled with memorable character work. She remains beloved for humor, grace, and the effortless delight she brought to every scene. George Hamilton. George Hamilton became famous as a suave film and television personality, where his unmistakable tan, playful charm, and self-aware cool made him one of entertainment's most recognizable faces. Now 86, he appears more selectively, but still carries that same polished ease in public. He remains admired for timeless glamour, wit, and a celebrity image that endured for decades. Cindy Morgan. Cindy Morgan became iconic through Tron and Caddyshack, where her sleek beauty, playful glamour, and bright retro charm made her a memorable favorite of cult audiences. She died in 2023 at 72, yet her image still glows with nostalgic appeal. She remains beloved for style, charisma, and a legacy closely tied to beloved pop culture classics. Ed Harris. Ed Harris became acclaimed through powerful film and television roles, where his rugged intensity, moral gravity, and restrained authority made him one of America's most respected actors. Now 75, he continues to work with the same seriousness and command that defined his career. He remains admired for discipline, depth, and a screen presence rooted in absolute credibility. Marion Seldes. Marion Seldes became revered for her stage and television work, where her elegant intelligence, refined poise, and extraordinary discipline made her a performer of rare distinction. She died in 2014 at 86, leaving behind a legacy admired across generations. She remains remembered for craft, dignity, and the timeless sophistication she brought to every appearance. Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson became acclaimed through Howard's End and Sense and Sensibility, where her sophisticated intelligence, sharp wit, and emotional precision made her one of Britain's most respected screen stars. Now 66, she continues to balance film, television, and writing with remarkable authority. She remains admired for elegance, range, and a voice that always feels unmistakably her own. Anson Williams. Anson Williams became beloved as Patsy Weber on Happy Days, where his boyish charm, easy likability, and warm comic spirit made him a lasting television favorite. Now 76, he is also respected for a long directing career and a graceful life beyond acting. He remains admired for nostalgic appeal, versatility, and the friendliness he brought to the screen. Holly Hunter. Holly Hunter became acclaimed through broadcast news and the piano, where her intense intelligence, emotional honesty, and quiet force made her one of the most respected actresses of her era. Now 68, she remains active across film and television, choosing roles with care and depth. She continues to inspire through fearless craft, discipline, and extraordinary emotional clarity. Demon Wilson. Demon Wilson became widely loved as Lamont Sanford on Sanford and Son, where his lively energy, sharp comic timing, and natural chemistry made him central to one of television's classic sitcoms. Now 79, he is remembered not only for comedy, but for a later life shaped by ministry and writing. He remains admired for warmth, humor, and heartfelt resilience. Laura Dern. Laura Dern became acclaimed through Blue Velvet, Jurassic Park, and later Big Little Lies, where her fearless range, intelligent intensity, and natural presence made her one of the screen's most compelling performers. Now 59, she remains active across film and television while continuing to evolve creatively. She remains admired for courage, versatility, and a career built on bold choices. Scott Grimes. Scott Grimes became well known through ER and Party of Five, where his approachable warmth, youthful charm, and easy versatility made him a familiar television presence. Now 54, he continues acting, singing, and voice work, including long-running success on American Dad. He remains admired for consistency, adaptability, and a career that has stayed steady without ever feeling overplayed. Chris Cooper. Chris Cooper became acclaimed through Lonesome Dove in adaptation, where his rugged credibility, quiet intensity, and grounded authority made him one of America's most trusted character actors. Now 74, he continues to choose thoughtful roles shaped more by craft than celebrity. He remains admired for restraint, seriousness, and the rare power of making every performance feel completely lived in. Mary Steenburgen. Mary Steenburgen became beloved through Melvin and Howard and a long run of film and television work, where her grounded warmth, soft radiance, and effortless likability made her deeply appealing on screen. Now 73, she continues to work creatively while balancing acting with songwriting. She remains admired for grace, intelligence, and a warmth that still feels completely genuine. Michael Dorn. Michael Dorn became iconic as Worf on Star Trek, where his powerful voice, towering presence, and steady intensity made him one of science fiction television's most enduring figures. Now 73, he remains closely tied to that legendary role and warmly regarded by fans worldwide. He remains beloved for strength, discipline, and a commanding presence that never lost its impact. Joely Richardson. Joely Richardson became acclaimed as Julia McNamara on Nip Tuck, where her refined elegance, cool intelligence, and understated emotional depth made her a distinctive, dramatic presence. Now 61, she continues to work selectively in film and television with the same poise and seriousness. She remains admired for sophistication, control, and a career shaped by thoughtful, character-driven choices. Treat Williams. Treat Williams became beloved through Hair and Everwood, where his warm, leading man charm, easy confidence, and restless vitality made him a deeply likable screen presence for decades. He died in 2023 at 71, leaving behind a career built on consistency rather than noise. He remains admired for range, generosity, and the steady warmth he carried into every role. Natasha McElhone. Natasha McElhone became widely known through The Truman Show, Solaris, and later Californication, where her refined elegance, cool poise, and understated emotional depth made her quietly mesmerizing on screen. Now 54, she continues to work across film and television with the same intelligence and grace. She remains admired for sophistication, restraint, and a career shaped by subtle, lasting power. Stellan Skarsgård. Stellan Skarsgård became acclaimed through Good Will Hunting, Chernobyl, and later major franchise work, where his rugged gravity, cerebral intensity, and world-weary authority made him one of the screen's most compelling presences. Now 74, he remains a powerful international actor with extraordinary range. He continues to inspire through daring choices, depth, and an artistic fearlessness that never softens. Paul Michael Glaser. Paul Michael Glaser became iconic as Dave Starsky on Starsky and Hutch, where his curly-haired energy, streetwise toughness, and driven charisma made him one of television's memorable action stars. Now 83, he remains connected to fans through appearances and through his long commitment to pediatric AIDS advocacy. He remains admired for resilience, heart, and a legacy shaped by compassion. Sybil Shepherd. Sybil Shepherd became famous through The Last Picture Show and Moonlighting, where her luminous beauty, sharp charm, and glamorous confidence made her one of television's most recognizable leading women. Now 76, she still carries the assurance of a star who understood her own value. She remains beloved for wit, style, and a screen presence that felt both cool and inviting. Billy Baldwin. Billy Baldwin became famous through Flatliners, Backdraft, and Sliver, where his handsome polish, cool confidence, and polished star appeal made him a familiar face of 90s screen culture. Now 63, he remains active while balancing acting with family life in a lower-key public image. He remains admired for longevity, recognizability, and a career that kept evolving without chasing noise. Michael Chiklis. Michael Chiklis became iconic as Vic Mackey on The Shield, where his tough intensity, compact force, and commanding grit made him one of television's most forceful dramatic leads. Now 62, he continues acting while expanding into producing and directing with the same determination. He remains admired for reinvention, power, and a career built on sheer conviction rather than vanity. Stephen Baldwin. Stephen Baldwin became well known through The Usual Suspects and The Young Riders, where his edgy energy, cocky swagger, and unpredictable spark gave him a distinct place in 90s screen culture. Now 59, he continues to work in film and television while carrying that recognizable edge. He remains remembered for cult appeal, attitude, and a presence that never felt safe. Peter Sarsgaard. Peter Sarsgaard became acclaimed through Shattered Glass and later television work, where his intense intelligence, unsettling calm, and brooding sophistication made him one of the most compelling actors of his generation. Now 55, he continues choosing difficult, layered roles instead of easy stardom. He remains admired for seriousness, complexity, and performances that always seem to reveal something deeper. Rene Russo. Rene Russo became famous through Lethal Weapon 3, Get Shorty, and The Thomas Crown Affair, where her striking glamour, cool confidence, and sleek sophistication made her one of the era's most memorable screen stars. Now 72, she works more selectively while keeping that same effortless authority. She remains admired for elegance, control, and a magnetism that never had to shout. Thank you for spending these memories with us. Each of these stars brought something special to the screen, not just beauty, but presence, warmth, and a kind of charm that never needed excess to be remembered.